Welcome back. There is a special performance happening at the Visalia Fox Theater this weekend. Giselle features the State Street Ballet, and here is a sneak peek. Beautiful. So joining us now is music director Bruce Kiesling from the Sequoia Symphony Orchestra. Thank you so much for being here. It's great to talk to you again. Giselle, the next concert coming up at the Visalia Fox Theater, it features the State Street Ballet. So let's talk about how you collaborated through music with professional dancers.
Absolutely. This is our second collaboration with the State Street Ballet. They are a fully professional company based in Santa Barbara, and they were here 2 years ago, this month actually, to do Copeland's Appalachian Spring, and it was a big success, certainly. And we wanted the chance to do something. The Copeland was more of a contemporary 20th century ballet, so in this case, we wanted to look back and do one of the most historically significant ballets, this one called Giselle. And I was particularly attracted to the story, which is kind of a ghost story. One of the characters passes away and her ghost comes back to kind of woo the man that she was in love with during life. So I love that aspect of it, but it's full of just absolutely wonderful music. The most famous ballet I think we all know, of course, is the Nutcracker Ballet, and it's kind of made up of lots of short little dances. Just like that, Giselle has that same idea. So many, many very, very short dances showcasing all the great artistry of not only our orchestra, but also our great guest dancers from Santa Barbara.
Well, this is such a great collaboration. I love this. I've actually had the State Street Ballet on this show before to talk about one of their performances that they did here with some kids in town. So I love that they're coming back. How do you fit all of these performers in one theater? How do you fit the orchestra and the musicians and the dancers?
Yeah, absolutely. And we do something unusual. Most of the time, if you go to see a ballet, in a theater, the orchestra is down in the pit. And at the Fox Theater, we do a really special situation, which is where the orchestra sits on stage as well, up in the back. So furthest away from the audience, the orchestra will be sitting back there, but on stage with the dancers, and then the dancers are down in the front. And the only way we can make that work in a theater like the Fox Theater, which is not a huge cavernous space, but we actually extend the stage 20 feet out over the first couple of rows of seats. So we create a very, very large area for them to dance on, and then with our good-sized orchestra up behind them. So it's really quite an effective and really a stunning visual treatment to see not only the dancers on stage with some great lighting and wonderful costumes, but behind them you can see the orchestra right on stage with them. So it'll be a little jammed for us up there, and pits are even more jammed than that, but I think it'll make a really effective way to showcase this artistry of both of these groups in our not that large theater.
Yeah, the picture sounds sort of stunning and just all kinds of visual stuff happening, because watching people perform music is a show in and of itself. I love watching musicians actually play their instruments. So what do you think the difference is for the dancers to perform with live musicians rather than a recording?
Well, I think that as a performers, there's something to be said for being in the room with live music. And we make this case all the time with what we do as orchestral musicians, because you can find music anywhere now with movies on YouTube. In a second, your phone is full of music, of course. But being in the room, listening to live musicians play, and especially when there's a little bit of interaction, because our musicians can see the dancers. They're right on stage with them. The dancers feel that music that's coming up behind them, and it feels much more authentic to them because it's not buried underneath, as I said, and it's not coming from speakers on the sides, but you can feel the vibrations on the stage, etc. And there's this wonderful collaboration that happens between these two kinds of arts that come together. And I think for both of us, whether we're musicians or whether they're dancers, for both of us, there's this wonderful sort of melding of styles and melding of arts that heightens it to the next level when we're able to actually do it at the same time in front of an audience on the same stage in the theater.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said about sort of the energy feedback loop that you create when you do a performance like that. But there's another musical work not with the dancers in this concert, and it's a big one. So tell us about that.
Absolutely. So that then the first half is what we've been talking about. That's kind of the main work on the program. The second, the this big chunk of Giselle, and then when we come back, the orchestra actually expands even bigger because we'll have about I think 40 on stage for the first Giselle, but then we become a 65-piece orchestra for our second half, which is a piece called Roman Festivals, and it's a short work, but it brings out all of the stops. We actually have 9 percussionists who will be playing all kinds of percussion instruments, a full brass section, everything. And basically, this piece is meant to visit the city of Rome during 4 different holiday festivals throughout the year. So they're during the Harvest Festival, they're during the festival, the Epiphany, which is like a giant bazaar in this giant square. And I think that the composer does this great job of capturing all of that kinetic energy when you can smell different food over here and different vendors
Yeah.
and different outfits and different cultures all happening at
In
the
one
same
place.
time.
It
And the music is
sounds,
super busy and almost
yeah.
like cacophonous. There's so much going on, but you can really hear it's like you're walking through it and you're hearing these different things coming from different
It
sides.
sounds
And so it's just
absolutely
over the top and really,
incredible.
really exciting and will make a great piece to pair with the Giselle.
It sounds absolutely incredible. We will have all the information on tickets. It's happening this weekend. Bruce, thank you so much for being here today. Break a leg this weekend. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, don't change that channel. We have your entertainment update from Hollywood after this.